$140. A royal blue Nike kit. A 21-year-old Filipina ranked inside the world's top 20. And a growing wave of attention that could soon put Alex Eala's face across New York City. But here's the question nobody can ignore anymore. Why Alex Eala? She isn't the highest-ranked player entering the 2026 US Open. She isn't American. She hasn't won a Grand Slam. And yet, Nike appears to be positioning her as one of the most important faces of its tennis campaign. That raises a much bigger question. What does Nike see in Alex Eala that the rest of the tennis world may only now be starting to understand? The answer may have very little to do with her current ranking. Eala has already made history. She became the first Filipina to break into the WTA top 20 and later captured her first WTA 500 title in Washington, defeating Jessica Pegula. Those achievements alone would make her a major prospect. But Nike's interest seems to go beyond results. The company's recent moves around Eala suggest something much bigger could be happening. The story really began to accelerate in 2025. At Wimbledon, Nike created a custom sampaguita-inspired hair accessory for Eala. The sampaguita is the national flower of the Philippines, and that detail mattered. This wasn't simply another piece of tennis equipment. It connected Eala's global rise with her Filipino identity. That kind of branding is powerful because Eala is not just selling tennis. She is carrying a story that millions of people can recognize themselves in. Then came Vogue Philippines. Eala appeared on the magazine's cover wearing Nike, turning her tennis success into a wider cultural moment. Suddenly, she wasn't being presented simply as another promising young athlete. She was becoming a symbol. And then came New York. Eala visited Nike's headquarters in New York and posted two simple words, New York, New York. It looked harmless, but for fans watching closely, it felt like another piece of the puzzle. Why would Nike bring Eala into the middle of its global tennis marketing machine just before the US Open? The timing was impossible to ignore. And then the tennis itself gave Nike another reason to believe. At the 2025 US Open, Eala faced a highly ranked opponent and found herself in a desperate situation. The match appeared to be slipping away. In the deciding tiebreak, she fell behind 5-1. Most players would struggle to recover from that position, especially under the pressure of a packed New York stadium. Eala didn't fold. She fought back. Point by point, she changed the momentum and eventually closed out the tiebreak. That comeback became exactly the kind of moment a global sports brand wants. Drama, emotion, youth, pressure, and a player refusing to quit. But Eala's US Open run did not suddenly become a fairy tale. She lost in the next round. And that might actually be one of the most important parts of the story. Because Eala's rise has never been about pretending she is unbeatable. She loses. She struggles. She has difficult days. But she keeps moving forward. After one tough defeat, Eala reminded fans that living your dream also means accepting the bad days that come with it. That mindset is valuable to a brand like Nike. Nike has never built its biggest campaigns around perfection alone. It builds them around stories. And Eala has a story that is extremely easy to understand. A young athlete from the Philippines leaves home to chase a dream. She trains internationally. She develops her game. She enters bigger tournaments. She shocks established players. She carries the expectations of an entire country. And eventually, she starts making history. That is not just a tennis story. That is a global sports story. Then came another major turning point. Eala won the Washington, D.C. Open. And she did it by defeating Jessica Pegula. Suddenly, the conversation changed. The player who had once been described as a promising prospect was now a WTA 500 champion. The rankings started climbing. The results became harder to dismiss. And Nike's investment began to make even more sense. Because brands don't only invest in where an athlete is today. They invest in where that athlete could be tomorrow. And that may be the most important part of Eala's entire Nike story. Think about the market. The Philippines has more than 100 million people. Millions of Filipinos also live around the world, creating one of the largest and most passionate overseas Filipino communities anywhere. For years, tennis marketing has been dominated by stars from North America, Europe, and a handful of Asian markets. But the Philippines has something incredibly valuable. A massive audience that loves sports, a powerful diaspora, and now, a tennis player who can represent them on the biggest stages. That combination is rare. Eala gives Nike something that goes far beyond a ranking. She gives the company an opportunity to connect tennis with an audience that may not have previously seen itself represented at this level. That is why the reported US Open billboard buzz is so interesting. Fans and tennis communities have circulated claims that Nike could give Eala major outdoor advertising exposure around New York. Those specific billboard placements have not been independently confirmed. But the excitement surrounding them tells us something important. People are beginning to expect Eala to be treated like a major global athlete. And expectations can become self-fulfilling. The more attention Eala receives, the more casual fans recognize her. The more fans recognize her, the more valuable her commercial presence becomes. The more valuable she becomes commercially, the more opportunities brands have to put her in front of new audiences. And suddenly, the cycle gets bigger. This is how superstars are built. Not overnight, but through repeated exposure, repeated performances, repeated moments, repeated belief. And Nike appears to understand that better than almost anyone. The company has already shown how powerful athlete identity can become. Naomi Osaka became more than a tennis player. Serena Williams became more than a champion. Nike helped turn their athletic achievements into cultural movements. Eala could be heading toward a similar path, but with her own identity. She is Filipina. She is young. She is bilingual and globally connected. She has already experienced international tennis at a remarkably young age. And most importantly, she has an audience that wants to see her succeed. That final point may be the secret weapon. Because Eala's supporters aren't simply watching her. They are emotionally invested in her journey. Every breakthrough feels personal. Every victory feels national. Every major tournament becomes another chapter. And when that emotion meets Nike's marketing power, the result can become enormous. But there is still one thing Nike cannot manufacture. Wins. No billboard can hit a forehand. No advertisement can save a match point. And no marketing campaign can guarantee a Grand Slam title. Eventually, Eala has to prove that she belongs among the very best players in the world. That is where the 2026 US Open becomes so important. The spotlight is getting brighter. The expectations are getting higher. And every match becomes more meaningful. If Eala wins, Nike's investment looks brilliant. If she makes a deep run, the hype becomes even louder. If she reaches the second week of a Grand Slam, the conversation could completely change. And if she eventually wins a major, then all of this could look like the beginning of something much bigger. Because imagine the story. A Filipina teenager leaves home to pursue professional tennis. She trains, struggles, learns, and climbs. She becomes the first Filipina to reach the WTA Top 20. She wins a WTA 500 title. And then, before winning a Grand Slam, one of the biggest sports brands in the world starts treating her like the superstar she could become. That would mean Nike didn't simply react to a superstar.